I'm 73 years old, and I think I finally understand something I should have learned when I was 21. It only took me 52 years, and I don't have enough time left to be proud of that. I'm not saying this to sound wise. I don't feel wise. I feel like a man who realizes he misplaced decades the way other people lose their keys. One day, you notice they're gone, and when you finally retrace your steps, you realize they slipped away, slowly, quietly, without any single dramatic moment to mark the loss. That's what time is like at this age. Not a clock ticking, more like water draining. I live alone now, not unhappily, just realistically. My days are slow. There's a chair by the window I sit in most mornings. I watch the neighborhood wake up. I see people rushing, holding coffee cups, phones to their ears, keys clenched between their teeth. I remember being that person, busy enough to feel important, too busy to notice what I was losing. At 73, you start to feel like you're walking around with ghosts, not the haunting kind, the quiet kind. Memories, choices, people you used to love but didn't show it enough, people you assumed would be around longer. I didn't have one big failure, I had many small ones that added up. I think that's what people get wrong. We don't ruin life with explosions. We ruin it with neglect, with postponing, with later. That word, later. God, I built my entire life on the word later. When I was in my early 20s, I thought time was something you earned by surviving each day. I treated the future like a vault I could withdraw from whenever I was ready. I figured I'd spend my 30s fixing everything I ignored in my 20s. Then I'd spend my 40s building the life I'd imagined. The 50s would be my reward. The 60s, a victory lap. The 70s. Well, I didn't think about the 70s. I worked in logistics, not exciting work, but it paid the bills. It felt responsible. I woke up early, packed lunch, drank burnt office coffee, followed orders, made sure shipments were on time. There's something hypnotic about routine. It convinces you you're doing enough simply by doing something. I used to tell myself, once things calm down, I'll visit my parents more. Once I get a raise, I'll take my wife somewhere nice. Once the kids are older, I'll have real conversations with them. Always once, never now. It didn't feel like avoidance. It felt reasonable. That's the cruel thing. Most mistakes feel reasonable when you make them. My wife, Anne, used to sit beside me on the couch at night, trying to talk about her day. Small talk, stories about the neighbors. I answered in nods, half listening, my mind still at work, untangling the next morning before it arrived. I thought she understood. I thought she'd wait. My son would ask me to throw a ball with him after dinner. My daughter wanted me to watch her draw. I always said I would. After I finished this, just 1 second. I must have said 1 second thousands of times. Funny how those seconds never came back. If you asked me back then, I would have sworn I was a good husband and a good father. But being there and being present are not the same thing. I learned that too late. There wasn't one moment where everything fell apart. That would have been merciful. Instead, it leaked, like a roof you never fix because the drips are small. You put out a bucket, then another. Then one day, the ceiling caves in and you act surprised. Anne stopped trying to talk as much. The kids stopped asking me to play, not out of anger, out of adjustment. People learn what not to expect. That's something I wish I'd understood. Silence isn't peace. Sometimes it's resignation. The turning point came when my father had a stroke. I visited him in the hospital. He couldn't speak, just stared at me with eyes that seemed to apologize for everything he never said out loud. And I realized I couldn't remember the last real conversation we had. Not the last visit, the last conversation. I sat by his bed, holding his hand, and I tried to talk, but I didn't know how. I didn't know what we'd missed because I'd never been paying attention. It felt like trying to read a book after the pages had been torn out. He died 3 days later. I thought grief would teach me. I really did. Instead, I went back to work. I convinced myself that responsibility was more important than regret. I convinced myself that this was just the way adulthood worked. Duty first, connection second. But connection doesn't wait. It rots when ignored. Years passed. My kids moved out. My wife and I became polite with each other, then cordial, and eventually distant, not hostile. Just two people sharing a life like roommates who used to be lovers. I didn't cheat, I didn't gamble, I didn't drink, I just wasn't there. And you can lose people simply by not showing up in the ways that matter. The day she left, she didn't slam the door. She just sat across from me at the table and said, "I don't think you see me anymore." And I didn't know how to argue because I wasn't sure I saw myself either. We split quietly, no big fight, no broken plates, just the acknowledgement of 1,000 missed chances. I stayed in the house. She moved in with her sister. We still talk sometimes, but it's the small talk of people who used to dream together. I don't blame her. She waited longer than she should have. What I learned, too late, is that you can love someone and still lose them by accident. Love without attention is like a plant you forget to water. It doesn't die all at once. It just wilts. And that became the story of my life. People drifting away, not with fury, but with quiet acceptance. I'm not bitter, just aware. I thought there would always be more time to fix things, more time to apologize, more time to be the man I meant to be. You don't feel the urgency when you think the road stretches on forever. But somewhere along the line, the road started getting shorter. These days, I try to call my kids more. They answer, but there's a formality to it. They love me, I know that. It's just, love changes shape when it hasn't been fed. They have families now, patterns I'm not really part of. I see pictures on social media, birthday parties, vacations, new jobs. None of it intentionally hidden from me. I'm just not central to the story. I visit sometimes. They're kind. They pull up chairs. They pour coffee. They ask about my health. But there's a look in their eyes like they're entertaining a distant relative. I don't blame them. Children learn the rhythm of relationship from the beat you set. I gave them sporadic presents, and that's what I get back. Consistency matters. I didn't know that. There's a loneliness to aging that no one warns you about. Not solitude. I can handle being alone. It's the quiet awareness that the world has moved on without you, that you spent so long preparing for life that you forgot to live it. You start cleaning out closets and finding pieces of who you used to be. Ticket stubs, old letters, a photograph where you look like someone who believed there would always be more. My biggest regret isn't what I did, it's what I delayed, what I assumed I could fix later. I thought love was a feeling. It's not. It's time. If you don't give it time, it doesn't grow. I'm not sharing this to preach. I'm not here to tell anyone what to do. I don't have that right. I just want to say what I wish someone had said to me when I was younger, before the decades blurred and the rooms got quieter. If there's something true in your chest, say it. If there's someone you care about, tell them. If you're putting off a moment of connection, stop waiting for the perfect time. Perfect doesn't come, only real does. Life isn't made of big cinematic moments. It's made of Tuesday nights on the couch, coffee on the porch, the phone call you almost didn't make, the hug you cut short because you were distracted, the conversation you rushed because you were tired. Those are the things that decide a life. And once they're gone, you don't get a redo. You just get to sit with it, not in misery, just in recognition. If you're younger than me, and almost everyone is these days, I hope you'll check in with the people who matter before the distance hardens. Not because you should, but because waiting costs more than you think. If this meant something to you, I'm glad. If it didn't, that's all right too. You'll learn in your own time. We all do. I don't have much left to fix. I don't say that sadly, just factually. I'm 73. I wake up grateful. I make my coffee. I sit in the chair by the window. I think about the life I lived and the life I could have lived if I'd understood sooner what I understand now. Presence is the only thing that makes time matter. Attention is love in practice. Tomorrow is a promise most of us treat like a guarantee. I used to think there would always be more years. Now I know there are only more moments if I choose to notice them. So I'm trying to notice them. That's all I can do. If you heard me, thank you. If you carry any piece of this with you, even quietly, I'm grateful. I'll leave it there. I don't need to say more.